Good evening, everyone. We have a properly posted agenda and quorum present tonight. We're about to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 55.1.074 personnel to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including the superintendent or board member, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or an employee. Tonight we'll be discussing the duties of the interim superintendent, including the role in the superintendent search process. In addition, we will be covering in executive session item 2D pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.076, security devices or security audits to deliberate the employment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel or device or a security audit. And we will be out until 6 p.m., so we will see you soon. All right, we appreciate you being here tonight, and we are going to start off our time together tonight with an invocation by Chief Delvin Campbell. If you'll stand with me, we'll say the invocation.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together tonight. Lord, we ask that you guide us and direct us in our decision making. Let all of our decisions be made to glorify you and everything that you do. We'd also ask that as the holidays are fastly approaching us, that you'd guide and protect each and every one of our members of our community, whether it be staff, students, admin, just everybody as they begin to travel through the holiday seasons. Lord, we also ask that you guide and direct all of our sporting teams as they're traveling and competing in their games. Just be with each and every one of them and bring everybody home safe. For in your gracious and holy name we pray. Amen.
All right, if you will remain standing with me, we have a couple of folks who are going to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance from our STEM Academy at Ennis Elementary School. I do want to introduce not just the mom and dad. We've got some really cool people. We've got Penny and Ryan Sessions and their son Lincoln, and we have Andrea and Brennan Williams with Delaney, and we have a grandma here whose name is Roxanne, and Brent is not here with us tonight, but we also have grandparents Connie and Alan Sessions, and we are proud of the Sessions family, and y'all come right on up here.
Okay, you're gonna
All right.
get started.
Ready?
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Williams and Sessions families. Appreciate you guys.
Well, it's Rue's Whistle from Hunger Games, and how could I not? Okay, that's all I have to say.
All right, our next agenda item is public forum. This is reserved for individuals who wish to participate in the public comment. They're asked to sign in between 5:30 and 5:55 before the start of the meeting. I'm required to read this, so if you'll bear with me for just a moment. Persons desiring to address the board must sign up at the designated time prior to the meeting. Board policy BED addresses public comment and public testimony at board meetings. Audience participation at board meetings is limited to the public comment portions of the meeting designed for that purpose. All other times during a board meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board unless requested by the presiding officer. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. And we do have one individual, Chris Fernahue. If you'll come up here, Chris, would you like for us to give you a 3-minute timer and a 1-minute warning? Does that work? All right. Thank you.
Our microphone.
We'll get you a mic.
Are we there? All right, sorry I'm not sitting down, guys. For either way, the seats I was sitting in were much prettier with what was there. But I'm getting older, my back's thrown out, and it sounds ridiculous to say it, but I probably couldn't get up right now. I was going to actually come either way and just ask again for the board to reconsider the homeschool UIL play. Even before what happened in Bridgeport, I think we were all kind of shocked by that. I know I was. Since the turn in Bridgeport, I've had multiple people reach out to me, of whom I don't even know, asking what my thoughts were. And, I guess just because I was up here to stand in a couple of months ago, I'm the guy that they all want to talk to. My thoughts pretty much are the same. I don't see in any way that it hurts the district. I think it helps the district. I personally think it will help the district get votes when the bond time comes. There is a lot of us out there. If you just look on the homeschool page on Facebook, there's about 1,000 to 1,300 people involved in that page. You got to understand that it's not just the parents, it's the grandparents and all the other people that are actually related to all of us. So I don't see the disadvantage of it. I kind of think it's possibly a good bridge between the children as well, to have the communication of the homeschool and the public school kids kind of seeing each other and mingling themselves. So I don't think that's a bad side of it either. I do believe that with Bridgeport doing it, some of the fears that were there are kind of mitigated to an extent, because now that Bridgeport is saying that they are an open district, any kid, from what they have told me, I called and spoke to them on Tuesday, is allowed to play in Bridgeport ISD. So if somebody wanted to pull themselves out of Decatur and go play in UIL, that is an option now that's only 10 to 12 minutes away. So that fear, I hope, would be kind of put to rest a little bit. Other than that, I just would like to kind of see a place that we can be all inclusive. We can kind of bring the community together. I know that the bond is something that's important to the school. In my opinion, it is our civic duty to try to take care of the children and to get them the educated they needed. And until a couple of months ago, I thought that it was all of our best interest to pay for that child and get them to push through. So I ask that one of the four of you that chose to vote against it to please reconsider, put it back up for vote, and let's unify the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, moving on with agenda item number 7. For 7A, we actually do have a closed session item that requires action on our part. So if you'll reference 7A and the recommended motion from the administration, if anybody cares to make a recommendation.
I make a motion that we approve the board conducting the superintendent search process with the assistance of the interim superintendent.
Motion by Chief Campbell. We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Bayless as a second. All in favor, if you would say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, our next agenda item is agenda item 8, our public hearing for our Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. You may see this referred to as FIRST, the acronym FIRST, and for that we have Cindy Watson.
Okay. Which chair? This one? Okay. And we have your public hearing for the school first. We'll go over all of the indicators. For the fiscal year ending August of '23, we had a superior rating. We got 100 out of 100 points. And you'll see there the rating system. It's similar to what you had growing up in school. Indicators 1 through 4 are criticals. If you get no on any of them, it's an automatic F. Indicators 4, 6, 16, 17, 20, and 21 this year are ceiling indicators. So if the school district doesn't meet the indicator at each, there's a maximum rating that you'll get. But we met all of them, so. On the first indicator was the audit filed with TEA on time. We filed ours on January 25th. It was due the 27th of February. Indicator number 2, did we have an unmodified opinion? And the financial statements for 23 were unmodified opinion. Number 3, was the district in compliance with all payments, terms of all debt agreements? Yes, we made all of our bond payments on time. Number 4, do we make timely payments to TRS, Texas Workforce Commission, and the IRS? And we did make all of our payments for those on time as well. Was the total net position in the governmental activities column in the statement of net position greater than 0? Ours was $35,693,000. So we passed that one. Number 6, was the average change in fund balance over 3 years less than 25% decrease, or did the current year's assigned and unassigned fund balance exceed 75 days of operational expenses? Our unassigned, we had 109.12 days. So, and that's, you'll see on the slides there, and in your workbook, it shows you how they calculated all of them. I've just kind of re-put them up here. Indicator number 7, was the number of days cash on hand and current investments in the general fund for the school district is sufficient to cover operating expenditures. You had to have over 90 days in order to get the full 10 points. We have 145.14 days of cash. So we exceeded that one as well. 8, was the measure of current assets to current liability ratio for the district sufficient to cover short-term debt? We had barely skimmed with 10 points on this one. We had 3.0021, so we got the 10 points for that one as well. Number 9, did the district's general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures net of construction? They always take construction out on these calculations. If not, did the school's number of days in cash on hand exceed 60 days? Our number of cash on hand was 145, so we got the 10 points. Because we actually showed a loss last year of $1 million. Number 10, they did not rate this one this year. This is the district's average less than 10% variance when you compare budgeted revenue to actual revenues. They, again, this year did not rate this one due to COVID and the ESSER expenditures, or ESSER funding that we had. Number 11, was the ratio to long-term liabilities to assets for the district sufficient to support long-term solvency? If your increase in your membership over 5 years was 7%, you automatically pass this one and get the 10 points. We are right on the edge. We had 65.6, so we're between 8 and 10 points. But we had 12% growth, so we got 10 points. So there's a potential next year that we might lose a couple of points for this one because our enrollment has not increased significantly over the last years. Was the correlation between future debt requirements and the district's assessed property value? Was there a correlation? And we passed this one. You had to be less than 4. We're at 1.6. And basically what this is saying, do you have enough property taxes to fund the debt that you've issued and not put the taxpayers at. And then was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal or less than the threshold ratio? We have 0.08. Our threshold, we have to be below 11.51. So we're way below what our administrative ratio should be. 14, did the school district have a 15% decline in student to staff ratio over 3 years? If you have increased enrollment over the last 3 years, then you automatically pass. And what they're looking for on this one is if you have declining enrollment, they want to make sure that you decline in staff as well to correspond to the decrease in enrollment so you don't end up having financial problems in the future. So that's what this indicator is looking at. 15, did the district's ADA within the allotted range for the district's biennium? This one, again, has not been tested because of COVID, but starting in 25-26, when we do the next biennium, they will start grading this one. So when we do our pupil projection in December, we'll have to stay within 10% of what we actually have. So we'll have to get the crystal ball out and make sure that what we report to TEA, we're within 10%. 16, did the comparison of PEIMS data to the annual financial statement variance less than 3%? Over our total $38 million, our difference was $37. So that's 0.00009%. So. Number 17, did the external auditors indicate the annual financial report was free of any material weaknesses in the internal controls over financial reporting and compliance? They did not indicate any material weaknesses, so we passed on that one. 18, did the external auditor indicate the annual financial report was free of any material noncompliance for grants, contracts, laws related to local, state, and federal funds? They did not indicate any noncompliance. Number 19, did the school post the financial information on the website in accordance with the government code, and everything is on the website? Number 20, did the school board members discuss the district's property values at a board meeting within 120 days of adopting the budget? We discussed that several times before you adopt the budget, so we passed on that one. And then 21, this is a new one this year. This one hadn't been before. Did the district receive an adjusted repayment schedule for more than one fiscal year for over allocation of the FSP program for financial hardship? We don't have a payment plan basically with TEA to pay back if they overpaid us. So we passed that one as well. Any questions? And that's how we got to the 100.
All right, so we have 21 indicators, and remind me of our rating again?
An A and 100.
Okay, 100% is an A, as near as I can tell. Anybody have a question for Ms. Watson? Cindy, remind me how many folks you have that you work with in your division?
My department, we have 4.
So 4 folks, and Ms. Cindy, we appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Truly, thank you. Moving on, Superintendent's Report, item Agenda 9.
Okay, well, I won't take 30 minutes. I could. There's so much going on in the district that we're really proud of. I will say we're getting into the holiday season. There will be a lot, and I hope people will look at their own campus's webpage and see the many activities. I'll just point out a few that are happening just with band alone and with theater. This week is the Texas Thespian Festival in Grapevine, and we'll be represented there. In the rest of this month, going into December, there is a plethora of performances, band, theater, and choral music that you can attend, and I hope that you'll look at the middle school choir concerts that are coming up, the high school concerts, and the band concerts. They're all coming up. A couple of other things to point out. This very week, 2 events. We've got volleyball playoffs. As you know, our high school volleyball team has made it to the state semifinals. They will be playing Salina at the Curtis Caldwell Center tomorrow night. That's in Garland, and that game is at 8:30. So I would say come early, get a seat. It's going to be a great game. We're excited about that one. And then the football team has won their by-district game, and they are now on to so they're now on to the area game. They will play Aubrey, one of our neighbors here in our area of the state. They'll play Aubrey at 7 p.m. at the C.H. Collins Stadium in Denton. So that's something to be aware of. And I will also just share early. I'm going to share it early because it doesn't happen until January 18th. But the Wise County Chamber of Commerce is hosting an annual awards event that night, and they will be looking at Employees of the Year, and our very own Laura Walther is our district's Employee of the Year, and she will be recognized at that event. So bravo, Laura. And I might just have to say it again in December. You never know. So that's it.
All right. We sure do appreciate Laura. I wish you knew how much work it is to keep the 7 of us certainly in line, and we appreciate her leadership across the district. I see a lot of principals' heads nodding in agreement, so we truly appreciate you, Laura. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, she's invaluable.
All right. Item number 10 is the consent agenda. Did anyone wish to pull items A, B, or C? If not, I will ask for a recommendation. You see the verbiage there in your board book.
I approve the consent agenda as presented to the board.
All right, first by Mr. Bayless. Anyone else? Second?
I'll second.
Chief Campbell for the second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Speaking of how good Laura is, can I just tell y'all this? In my board book right now, she already has in the board book that motion is passed. This woman is on top of it, let me tell you. All right, moving on to agenda item 11. We have some discussion and action items. So, Dr. Rue.
Thank you. Before you tonight, this first action item is to discuss and take possible action on the Decatur ISD legislative priorities. This spans the 24-25 school year. As you know, the 89th legislative session will begin in January. They have already begun filing bills to be considered. That opened up this past week. We are very, very much in a position to advocate for public education. We know that the public funding has been static since 2019. Bills will be filed that will address that, and we want an opportunity to share as a district and as a community the priorities that are meaningful and helpful to us. So if you'll look at those legislative priorities, in the area of school finance, you'll see what the issue is. You'll see proposed solutions regarding increasing the basic allotment and fully funding special education and full-day pre-K, efforts to not divert local school property tax revenues beyond that of public education. And there are many different pots that dollars do land in the state budget. Then under the area of safety and security, fully fund armed security on each campus beyond the current $15,000 per campus. That's a heavy lift, and we are very grateful for our partnership that allows us to have an SRO on every campus. And we know full well that the $15,000 the state allocates to us does not pay the salary, the equipment, the vehicles, et cetera, of our school resource officers. Then when we get into accountability, instruction, and learning, we again identify the issues there, and then we offer proposed solutions that advocate that state student assessments be limited to those that are actually required by federal regulations. And we are required, the federal requirements are that students be assessed at certain grades in reading and math. Texas assesses at every grade level up through 9th or 10th grade, really, in reading and math, and in other grade levels in science and social studies. So it is a test-heavy environment in the state of Texas. That's just a little bit different. And every year, every biennium, the legislature looks at that and has a conversation about it. I don't know, what their thoughts would be coming into this legislative session, but it's something to consider. And we're advocating for permanent state funding for our accelerated instruction, and we're advocating for increasing the instructional materials allotment that will fund the needs for technology and the instructional technology and instructional materials beyond what the state is currently doing. And then under the area of teacher recruitment and retention, we are looking at some proposed solutions of focusing legislation that addresses teacher shortages, advocating for increased state funding for teacher compensation and health care, and then a slight rewording on the last one, suspending penalties to employees and districts for hiring retired teachers, because that is now something that while we can do it and have done it, there are penalties associated with it. And we know we're in a teacher shortage situation, so those penalties are onerous.
So this is a discussion item. I will point out again, and an action item as well, but certainly we are open to discussing this at this point. I want to point out something important that Dr. Rue said, and that is that funding has remained flat since 2019. I just want y'all to think about all the many, many things that have changed in the world since 2019. Pre-COVID, just think about the impacts that your families have had. The district has certainly seen that as well. So Many considerations. We appreciate the update. Anybody have a comment, question for Dr. Rue? If not, I would entertain a motion. I'm sorry?
I got a quick question.
Oh, yes.
Dr. Root, how is the best way for the board and community and everybody else to really push these items to our representatives? How's the best way for that to take place?
Well, once the board has made a decision and adopted these resolutions, then we'll communicate those. We will send them not just to our own two representatives. We'll send them to representatives across the state because they will see similarities in their own systems. Now, the folks out in Amarillo won't be as excited about ours as they are their own, but it's helpful for those state representatives and senators to understand that there are commonalities. And we are a part of a legislative consortium, if you will, with Frisco ISD and many others in North Texas that will collaborate together. We will, I believe that it will be very important to have meetings with our local representatives, Representative Hopper and Senator Parker, so that they are aware and that we can have those conversations with them. Any opportunity that any of us have to share these in a public forum or a meeting of any kind, we should take advantage of that. I know that later this week is a PTO superintendent chat, and this would be a topic of conversation there. And when we have another opportunity to do a Silver Eagles meeting, that's another opportunity as well. So we will have to, this is one of those times where you push out, you push the information out, you get it in as many ways as you can. It's on our webpage, we put that out so that our community sees it. And we really have to be rather unapologetically advocates for our system and what our kids need. And we have to ask people to join us in that advocacy and give them talking points and answer questions that they may have so that they fully understand what's at stake. Decatur ISD is not alone in the challenges that it has. You see in the paper constantly the districts that are closing campuses, consolidating campuses that have increased student ratios in classrooms, have decreased the number of teachers they have in order to do that, which Decatur has done. There is a limit to how far that can go. And I think that we're at a critical venture here in public education. We absolutely must speak up, speak out, and be willing to have tough conversations when necessary. So we will communicate it 6 ways a Sunday, and we'll start getting out there and talking with our representatives about it.
I got one quick one. Under accountability, instruction, and learning.
Yes.
Texas accountability system is centered on high-stakes standardized testing. I'm assuming that's STAR. Is that what we're referencing?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Can you just update us, the board, and the community? What's going on with STAR? Where are we currently with it? And maybe go back 2 years?
Oh, well, okay.
I mean, just that is tied up in court. That's
Yeah.
important to, if we're gonna lobby against the STAR testing, but yet current board members and past board references the STAR often, and it's in court, we just need clarification on.
Sure.
If we're gonna use that data, we either use it or we don't use it, but if we're gonna use it, make sure it's valid. I just want to go over that.
Exactly, and it's not a matter of not using it, it's a matter of overusing it. As an assessment system that's high stakes, which this is, it is high stakes, then, and it's high stakes from the standpoint of communities. Communities are judged on this, not just the school district, communities. When you get a letter grade for your school system, and it's the heart of your school system, it needs to be completely transparent. We don't move the goalpost halfway through the game, which happened in this last STAR cycle, that we have a very clear sense of what is being assessed and what the assessment criteria will be. And the reason I said, the goalposts did get moved is that the test that we are currently administering in last year for sure, that test was a newly calibrated test. It was rewritten with a new format, open-ended questions, which are fine. We're up for meeting the needs of our kids, and we want them to do well, and it's not that we don't want accountability from a state level. It's very clear that we need that for the state to do its governance role. To me, that STAR test is mostly a governance tool on the state. If you live in Abilene, or you live in Decatur, or you live in San Antonio, that schools are operating well, and that's what they do. That's what the STAR tells us. So, and it is an after the fact assessment. Instruction has taken place. So it's not used to guide day-to-day instruction. It's not used to guide and inform what's happening that particular year with teachers and students. And I won't get into how the test is made and the calibrations of all that, because I could give you a 2-hour answer, and I don't want to do that. I really don't. But what I do want to say is, in this last administration of the test was rewritten, the format changed, and the grading criteria was not known to us at the onset, and that came later. So there's a little bit of how's that working? How do we really find that transparent? We know that the main pieces that must happen, reading and math, give us the best picture of how students are achieving across the board. And that's what the federal government's requirements are, ESSA, that we would do that. I will come back and say this part because I think it puts somewhat in perspective. The nation judges its educational system through the National Assessment of Educational Progress. It's called the NAEP test. That test is administered every other year, every 3 years, somewhere in that time frame. Every 2, 3? It was 3. Every 3, okay. Every 3 years. In order to get a feel, and Texas is right in there, every state gets it, every state gets a report. That is a randomly selected assessment. A school district will get a message that is, your 25 students in your district will take the NAEP test. They're at this campus, this campus, this campus. And that is a statistically significant sampling to infer how the rest of the state is doing based on that. There have been background works here in Texas that show that we could do something similarly and know from the state's governance role that the same thing is happening. But we test every child, every year, 1st through 10th grade, in reading and math. The federal government does not require that, for us to do that. So this question has come up many times. It has been addressed in the last 3 biennium that I know of. There are legislators who understand it. One year I was invited testimony, and I spoke with a group of, at the Senate, and I shared with them the levels of accountability and what this meant and what they could do. And many were very interested in, you could do statistical sampling, you'd cut our cost and, significantly, and you'd still have the same results that can be applied to the state as a whole and to districts as a whole. So that's what that's about. It's not that you don't want assessment. You absolutely do. We do our own curriculum-based assessments. Teachers do assessments every day in their classrooms. They write unit tests. All of this occurs, and we want, from a district level, we want to know how students are doing in our district curriculum. So that's the value of our CBAs, those curriculum-based assessments, so they understand. We know that it doesn't matter which elementary school you go to, you're getting the same quality education. The state needs to do that same thing. But the difference for us is we use those CBAs, I told you again, I'm sorry, I apologize, but the difference for us is that we use those CBAs to inform and make adjustments to the curriculum itself and the alignment of our assessment tools, our assessment items to the curriculum itself. So we use that and it informs instruction and informs reteach and intervention for the remainder of the year. STAR is a governance tool more than anything else.
Thank you. And it's important, I think, that we try to get the layman's of the district. Y'all are a bunch of professionals in this room right now, but the rest of us understand this isn't just a simple way of grading how we're doing. And if we're going to use that to hold people accountable, we got to make sure we understand what we're using, what tools we're using, and
That's right.
that's all.
That's right.
And it's still in court, right? 2 years in a
It's
row?
absolutely important.
2 years in a row.
You know, and of course, I have a belief that here in Decatur, it would not matter, it should not matter what test you give your kids, whether it's you know, whatever they're doing, whether it's STAR or it's SAT or, you know, ACT, whatever. We want our kids to come out on top. You know, if you're going to do a stay 9 of 10 to 0, we want Decatur kids to be at the top of that list. So quality curriculum, quality instructional strategies and learning in the classroom, and the third, quality assessments as we do our work. That allows students to be successful, and it won't matter what test they take, they're going to be successful. So yes, we need to recognize and value the STAR for what it tells us. We need to also recognize and couple our own assessments for what that allows us to do throughout the course of the year. You're welcome. And
So you have there the legislative priorities. Again, just to recap, those priorities would be in school finance, safety and security, accountability with instruction and learning, and finally teacher recruitment and retention. And so we are looking for we do have a recommendation by the administration. You have that verbiage there, item 11A, looking for a motion.
I recommend to approve the Decatur ISD legislative priorities for 2024 and 25.
Thank you, Ms. Schneider. Do we have a second? Is that Mr. Bayless? All right, second by Mr. Bayless. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, agenda item 11B, we will be discussing and taking possible action regarding our campus improvement plans for 24-25.
thank you, Dr. Wooten.
Oh, that was.
Okay, well, good evening. It's good to be here with you guys today. So I'm going over the campus improvement plan. This is not new information. All this information you guys received last month. I did put this in just a PowerPoint, so it was a quick visual for you, mostly with the academic components. So if you have questions as I kind of go through, let me know. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time with this since you guys have already seen everything before. And so what I did is I just put each campus on here and listed out the academic goals and objectives, and you can see it's broken down by approaches, meets, and masters. This is being tracked on the campuses for them to see how they're doing, where they're going, and more importantly, it's not just tracked by teachers. A lot of these campuses, depending upon the grade level, the students are tracking as well. I was even in a pre-K classroom where the little pre-Kers and their parents are tracking their progress. So,
I would like to point out that when you look at approaches, meets, and masters, approaches is a passing level. The meets and masters is passing at a higher level.
thank you, Dr. Rue. So this is for Carson. And you also on there, you're going to see like where we ended at the end of last year and where we want to be by the end of last year and then for this year. Yep. And then for Rand. Yes, you are going to see some of the goals are ambitious, and we've had lots of conversations with teachers and with administration on that. And we're always going to shoot for as high as we can possibly go, and we're going to track that. And I think that's always a good thing for us to have, and I think the kiddos should also aspire for that as well. But we're going to celebrate the wins, small wins, big wins, and I'm very confident in where the teachers are. Also, the other thing with math, because you're going to see that being a little bit more ambitious, is because we're in year 3 of implementation of Eureka Math, and it is night and day when you see these teachers and sitting in PLCs with them and just conversations from that very first year with all new curriculum to where we are for the 3rd year. And I'm very impressed with all of them. I'm very proud. And so this is Rand. And with Young, and I did put on there too, every single campus has some sort of component with the focus being tier 1 and tier 2 instruction. Obviously, PLCs are going to be a big piece of this, where they're not only discussing the data and what the data tells them, but what do we need to modify or change when it comes to the instructional piece of it.
And I guess I'll point out that for Young, you'll see the 90% there across the board. Their kids are performing at a high level, so maintaining that and pushing it into the 90% is their goal.
And the bigger discussion with them as well, because of where they're performing, is higher levels at meets and masters, because we can do that at that point. And then for McCarroll,
Does everybody know about the recent report for Young on the elementary?
That should have been in my superintendent comments.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
Speaking of U.S. News and World Report.
Wait, could we talk about the U.S. News and World Report? We'd
we
be
absolutely
happy
can.
to do that.
I am only your audience right now.
U.S. News recognized Young Elementary as among the best elementaries in the nation. Could we have
Ms. Kaufman, I think you should stand up for that one.
You can stand up and take a bow.
And for those of you at home, we celebrate with you, especially those hardworking teachers and administrators and cafeteria workers and everyone over there doing what needs to be done at Young. We appreciate you.
And so for McCarroll Mills, same thing. If you look towards the table there, you'll see where we are shooting, with social studies being one of those ambitious goals as well. And really moving the gauge. There was a lot of work done over the summer to come up with a really good plan for pre-assessment when it comes to social studies, and then the post-assessments, and then what happens between the two of them. And then for Decatur, high school. And yes, with U.S. history, with my U.S. history teachers, which is kind of funny because they just look at me because they're already performing at 98. But I'm like, I got to challenge you. I got to push you. We're going to go 99. And, of course, they're like, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So
I think when you hit in the 90s that,
It's
a realistic goal is you maintain in the 90s.
It is.
So we won't.
But we have a relationship, so he knows me pretty well of what I'll do. So, and that's it. And I'm just asking you to approve the campus plans for.
Any questions for Dr. Wooten? Dr. Wooten, we appreciate you. We know that this was a lot of work, working with campus principals and administrators and teachers, and we see that and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. All right, we are looking for a recommendation. You see that reflected in your board book.
I recommend we approve the campus improvement plan for 2024 and 2025.
All right, we have a motion by Chief Campbell. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Duncan for a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Wooten. And she's going to stay right where she is because
Yes,
we're going
I
to be
am.
looking at some beginning of year assessment data.
Yes, and so I'm going to kind of skip through here. And this is just the various data sources throughout the year. That is that third page. So you can see for pre-K, kindergarten, first and second, first through fifth, second through EOC, and then third grade through EOC, some of the differences with that. So when Dr. Rue had mentioned, like, we are very test heavy in the state of Texas, that is most definitely the case. And so in front of you right now, you have your pre-K, your Circle PM, and your Text Kia. This was also in your board book for you to review. And you will see for 24-25 beginning of the year, and then what's on the other side is our end of the year goal, where we want to be. And so for DSD, right now for students that are on track, we're at 38%. Remember, these are 4-year-olds, and this data for beginning of the year for pre-K Circle PM, Text Kia, and some of our iStation data that you're going to see was taken in September. So that's not a whole lot of time for them to get started on some things, especially when you're 4 years old and this might be your first very structured experience. Also, I do think it's worth noting that when you do look at Rand and Young and the accomplishment that Young has had and where Rand is going, they're coming in with not a whole lot of skill sets and not a whole lot of experience. And with Rand in particular, that's Spanish and English together. I will tell you, because if I was you sitting here, that would be a question when I see 3%. I will tell you that administration, myself, and with the pre-K teachers have all met and we've looked at things, and that is most definitely not where they are right now. I have looked at their tracking. I have looked at their little skill sets that they do every single week. All of it's tracked. The data is there. The conversations with parents are being had, and I am looking forward to what the middle of the year will bring because they are working very, very hard. Okay, to go on. TPRI and Tejas Lee. So once again, this is where we are for beginning of the year, and this is what our end goal we have based on when you look at cohorts, which is still kind of hard in first grade, but. And then for our ISIP reading and math with kindergarten, you'll see 2 different ways to show this. And so you have your typical table that we typically show you, but then we have the bar graph. And so what we want is throughout the year, you're going to see less in red and yellow, and you're going to see more in the various shades of green is what we want. And levels 3, 4, and 5 are like equivalent to your approaches, meets, and masters is how that works. And this is for first grade. And the next time I come up here and show you this, we'll be able to do a comparison between beginning of the year and middle of the year. We just don't have that with some of first grade and so forth, but we'll have that. And with our third grade. And fourth. And you'll start to notice a trend in the beginning part of it with some of this is just them getting accustomed to this style of testing. So it's not uncommon to see first and second a little bit lower, but as you get into third and fourth and fifth, you see that the traction starts to move.
This is all computer-based now?
The ISIP is computer-based. Mm-hmm. No, it is. Yeah. I'm trying to pace because I could talk forever too. And so here is where Dr. Rue was talking about the CBA data. So this is where we're able to look at curriculum-based assessments. And this is, of all the data, and we pull everything, I think this is one of the critical pieces from a teaching and learning perspective. Because this is where we're really seeing what is written, which is your curriculum, what is being taught, and then how we're assessing. And all of those pieces are completely interlocked. And so the assessments that are created, they're pulled from a test bank. Debbie actually went to a conference just recently, and one of the things I wanted her to ask is like, okay, where are these other districts pulling data from, and is it the same, and are we in alignment, or is there something we can do better? And we're very much in alignment with where that is. One of the new things that we put into place this year as well is at the elementary level, we have assessment teams that have been created. And so they're able to look in the test bank questions and align that with the curriculum that's being taught and have a say in that and be able to participate in that as well. But this is where the CBAs are, which we would want them to be higher, or not higher, but there is where we want them. But you're going to see like it's not in the 30s, it's in the 80s and the 90s, which is exactly where we would like to see that. And then this is our math. Which you can even see from last year, second year to third year. There's a big difference with where they're performing and just the internalization of the teachers with the content. And then this is our science. And one thing I do want to make note of, if I go back here with math, I looked at this so many times, but if you look at MMS 7th and then 6th grade advanced, that is not an accurate number, and I can do math, just so you know. It approaches, we combine that, and I just want you to know from the advanced perspective, it really is their approaches for the advanced level was at like a 96%. But we put it together because it's all the same test. It was the 7th grade on level that was lower, and the reason for that is that first 9 weeks when these assessments were taken, they had 3 teachers. So we lost one and so forth, and that was your big difference maker there. And then when you look at high school algebra 1, just because I also had conversations there too, because that was lower with the teachers and working with the coaches, they felt the kids honestly knew a lot more, could have done a lot more, but they also knew this wasn't something that went into the grade book, and they're smarter at the high school, and so effort may not have been there 100%. And then they pulled some of the assessments that they had also done in conjunction, and you could see where they had more than what they demonstrated. So I promised them that I would make note of that.
With Carson, I know everybody's working really hard over there. You guys working with Region 11. These CBAs look really good at Carson.
They do.
Where are we at? Are you guys excited, or what are you thinking?
Actually, I met
Carson?
with Carson's campus. I think it was last week. All my weeks are planning, are all blending together. But just to thank them for all their efforts and what they're doing. They're very excited to show the things that they've done. They are demonstrating where they are improving in a lot of the areas. With Eureka Math, working with the coaches and with PhD, they're seeing some great things too across all the campuses. But with Carson, obviously, with the targeted improvement, we're looking at that a little bit differently. So yeah, we are excited.
Are we having any feedback from Region 11 with Carson? Since they're doing oversight, correct?
Yes, I work with Region 11 on oversight. So they'll go into full swing in the spring is when they'll do that. We have our targeted plans, so Craig and I work very closely together on just making sure we're kind of meeting those markers and we're documenting that. Mm-hmm. But the coaches also have been a big help with the ones from Eureka and some PhD because they're aligned to what we're looking for and the state's looking for to get off the target improvement. Right. So it's been good.
And you can see with Carson, the second grade, third, fourth, fifth, they're in line on the whole with the other schools here.
Yeah, I think it's just, I can only imagine the stress from the leadership level when you're on an improvement plan, and I just think it's important to point out the successes. It's awesome, wonderful.
Absolutely. Yes. Make back to the science, and that's it. Any other questions?
All right, we certainly appreciate Dr. Wooten again, and Debbie Boatwright over here, our Director of Assessment and Accountability. We appreciate her leadership as well. We are looking for a motion. Is this information only?
Information, yeah, sorry.
Apologies.
Yes, this is just me.
All right, and now we move into the financials. Ms. Watson again. Not again, but she's back.
Sorry, I didn't get a picture. I would have put it up for you.
You have in your packet the financials for the month of October. We are 16.7% in for the year. You'll notice that our revenue is up from last year, about 3%. That was actually due to some tax collections. So our tax collections are up. I guess some people are making some early payments this year. Expenditure-wise, we are even up more though on there, a couple of, what is that, 7.7%. A lot of that is due to this budget is a whole lot tighter than we've had in the past. We know that we have, cut, slimmed down as much as we possibly could. So now you're going to be more on target every month as far as the percentages. It will be a little higher because the insurance. Our insurance premium, unfortunately, is right at $1 million. And so that showed up October 1st, and so that's why that number is a little higher. If you'll flip on over to the revenue, you'll see there that we have so far collected this year, just in the first 2 months of the fiscal year, $526,000 in tax collections, which last year we were sitting at $214. So we've almost doubled it, which is nice. And then you have the other state revenue and then the SHARS revenue that we receive coming in. You also have in your book, what was requested that we put in where we're at the end of last year before the auditors have made any adjustments. And right now we're sitting at a $1.4 million loss. If you take that into account to the fund balance, that'll leave us with $10,132,000. And if you use this year's budget, which is about $3.3 million for a month operating, you have a little over 3 months operating, sitting right now. Now, you have to take into account looking forward, you're going to take out 1.6 if we spend every line item this year. So fund balance is still looking pretty strong going into this legislative session. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Watson?
Okay.
All right, thank you, Cindy. All right, item 13 on the agenda this evening is adjournment, unless there's anything I've missed. Anyone? Want to make sure that we don't leave tonight without saying a hearty, very sincere word of thanks to our campus principals. You guys are rock stars. We appreciate every single one of you. We see you. We know the work that you're doing. We are grateful for you and the leadership that you provide those folks at your campuses. We are truly grateful for you. So thank you for all you do. And I hope you guys have a great evening. We will adjourn at 6:59. Thank you.